The tin meets polished leather with a small, stubborn sound. Not a clatter, but the hush of something private passing into a public life. Hands hover over chrome and glass. A car door catches light like a silver breath. Around them, the crowd keeps its distance, as though the air itself remembers which side of the gate belongs to who. A young black boy stands on the edge of the drive, shoulders small under a threadbare jacket, fingers wrapped around the tin as if it were a pulse he can feel. He does not step forward yet. He waits for the moment when he can place it into a stranger's palm without shouting for notice. The tin is dented at one corner, the paint worn down to a soft gray where his thumb has rubbed it for months. Inside, something he could not buy back with a year's wages. A thing that smells faintly of dust and rain and a promise he once made. They are an island of two people in a sea of quiet faces. The rich man's shoes shine like polished moons. His watch glints with tiny moons around it. He moves like someone who has practiced not looking at small things. He does not know how to measure the weight of the boy's offering in anything but coin. Around them, muffled laughter from a nearby party filters through a gate, a warm light spilling over marble that never sees cold. The boy's world is a map of small savings counted against evening lamps. A coin for a bus, a coin for bread, a coin tucked away for this. He has learned to fold hope into the size of a tin. When he breathes, it fogs the metal. When he holds it, his knuckles are white, not from strength, but from a kind of prayer he has made steady with his hands. People watch because they always watch when lives touch between the lines. The security guard shifts his weight and glances down at his clipboard. A valet straightens and looks away like he has been trained not to see. A woman inside the party, a half step at a window, silk catching the light, pauses, then turns back toward the laughter. No one reaches across the barrier that keeps the city organized by glass and distance. The boy remembers how the tin began, a salvaged lid from a tea box, an old button sewn to a rag, and a single folded photograph he pressed beneath the metal. He has kept it dry through rain, tucked it deep when thieves walked fast through alleys. Each coin he placed beside it felt like a stitch in a seam he hoped would hold his life together. The gift is small, that is the point. The gift is heavy in the way of things that cannot be replaced. He steps forward now, the tin held out like a surrender, like something he asks the world to remember for him. The rich man's hand reaches without curiosity, the motion of someone who takes and pays later, in silence. The skin of their palms is a study of two lives, one lined with work and sun, one soft with climate-controlled years. For a breath, nothing else happens. Somewhere, a glass tilts, and the sound is tiny and irrelevant. The boy watches the fingers close, the way the man's knuckles bridge the metal. In that narrow window, 1,000 small histories could unfold. A look, a refusal, a shove, a blessing. The world leans toward the choice. He opens the tin without thinking, and freezes. The lid stays half open, as if even the metal is unsure whether to reveal what it protects. The rich man's thumb pauses on the edge. His eyes drop, not with curiosity, but with the habit of someone who expects something cheap. Coins, maybe, a childish drawing. Nothing that belongs in his world of contracts and glass towers. But inside the tin, there is no pile of coins. There is a single folded photograph, softened at the corners by time, and beside it, wrapped in thin paper, a small silver ring, too simple to belong to the mansion behind him, too worn to shine like the city lights above. The laughter from inside the gate fades into a distant hum. The man's breathing shifts. It slows, then tightens. He lifts the photograph carefully, as if it might tear under the weight of his fingers. The paper trembles, not from the wind. The image is old. A younger version of him stands in it, thinner, softer, smiling in a way he no longer remembers how to smile. Beside him, a small figure holds his hand, a child with bright eyes and dust on his cheeks. They are standing in front of a modest brick building, the paint chipped, the future still unwritten. The rich man stares at his own forgotten face. He hasn't seen this photograph in decades. He told himself it was lost in one of the many moves, from apartment to penthouse, from penthouse to estate. He convinced himself it had no place in the life he built. There was no time for old frames when new awards filled the walls. Yet here it is, back in his hands, carried across years by a boy standing quietly in front of him. The young black boy does not speak. He only watches, his hands now empty, but his eyes steady. There is no demand in them, no accusation, just something softer, something that feels like waiting. the silver ring catches a thin beam of evening light. It is scratched and plain. Inside, faintly carved, are initials the rich man recognizes instantly, his own and another. A name he has not said out loud in years. The air feels thinner. He remembers a small rented room with peeling paint. He remembers working nights and promising someone that one day he would build something greater. He remembers a hospital corridor, white walls, silence. A goodbye he never finished saying. The ring was supposed to stay buried in memory, tucked between regret and ambition. But this boy, this stranger, has brought it back to him wrapped in paper that smells faintly of rain and rusted metal. Around them, the staff tries not to stare, but everyone can feel the shift. The powerful man who stepped out of the car with effortless confidence now stands perfectly still, as if the ground beneath him has softened. The young black boy lowers his gaze for a moment, not in shame, but in quiet understanding. He saved for months to return what was never his. He found the photograph in a second-hand market, recognized the face from a billboard towering above the city, and chose not to sell it, not to trade it for the school shoes he needs. Instead, he chose to bring it back, not for money, not for praise, but because some things deserve to find their way home. The rich man's jaw tightens. The life he built flashes before him. The applause, the contracts, the headlines. All of it feels loud and distant compared to the small, silent object resting in his palm. He thought he had outgrown the boy in the photograph. Now he realizes he abandoned him. The mansion lights flicker brighter as evening deepens. A breeze moves through the driveway. The tin remains open between them, a quiet witness. For a long moment, the rich man does not move. He seems older than he did minutes ago. And then, slowly, his expression changes. For a moment, he looks less like a billionaire, and more like the young man in the photograph. For a moment, he seems older than his years. And then he does something no one expected. The driveway holds its breath. The rich man closes his fingers around the ring, not tightly, but gently, as if it might disappear again if he grips it too hard. His shoulders, once squared with quiet authority, soften. The sharp line of power in his posture fades into something human. He looks at the young black boy for a long moment, not through him, at him. The mansion lights behind him no longer feel warm. They feel distant, like a life that suddenly belongs to someone else. The applause inside continues, but it sounds hollow now, like clapping in an empty hall. The photograph remains open in his other hand. He studies the younger version of himself, the man who once stood in front of a broken brick wall with hope instead of wealth. The man who had promised that success would never cost him his heart. Somewhere along the way, it did. The young black boy stands quietly, his thin jacket moving slightly with the evening breeze. His shoes are worn at the edges. His hands are still. No longer holding the tin, no longer protecting the memory. He has done what he came to do. He has returned something priceless, not just a ring, not just a photograph, but a forgotten piece of a soul. The rich man inhales slowly, as if learning how to breathe again. For years, he has been surrounded by people who praised him, feared him, obeyed him. No one brought him back pieces of himself he tried to leave behind. But this child did, without asking for anything, without even speaking. The ring trembles slightly in his hand. He turns it over, rubbing his thumb across the faint engraving. The name carved inside it feels heavier than gold. It belongs to someone he once loved deeply, someone he lost while chasing a future he believed would protect them both. He blinks, and the world sharpens again. The guards are watching. The staff is watching. The city beyond the gate hums without noticing the small revolution happening in a single driveway. Slowly, the rich man bends down, not dramatically, not to impress anyone, just enough to bring himself closer to the boy's height. The movement alone sends a ripple through the silent crowd. He reaches for the dented tin, closes it carefully, and places the photograph and ring back inside. But this time, he does not keep it at arm's length. He presses it lightly against his chest, as if reclaiming something. His free hand moves, hesitant at first, then rests gently on the boy's shoulder. It is a simple touch, but it carries more weight than any check he could write. In that quiet contact, something shifts between them. Not charity, not pity, recognition. The boy's eyes lift. They are steady, but softer now. He sees not a billionaire, not a mansion owner, but a man remembering who he used to be. The rich man straightens slowly, still holding the tin against his heart. Then he gestures toward the open gate. For the first time, it does not look like a barrier. It looks like an invitation. The party inside continues, unaware that the most important moment of the evening is happening outside on cold stone pavement. The young black boy hesitates only for a second before stepping forward, not because he wants the lights, but because he sees something breaking and healing in the man before him. And as they walk toward the gate together, the distance between wealth and poverty feels smaller than it ever has. Because sometimes, the smallest gift does not change a life by adding something new. Sometimes it changes a life by bringing back what was lost. And in that quiet driveway, beneath lights that suddenly feel less bright, one man remembers that success without heart is empty. And one boy proves that kindness is never small. Sometimes the smallest gift is the only thing that can remind a rich man how to be human.